Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders, great millstone, following this truth from the movie well. Peace and salutation to the 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. And the title for this was going to be, The Elect Aren't Invested in This World. Because this current world, as we know it, this current age that is being ran by the so-called white man, which is really Esau, Edom, spoken about in the scriptures, the man that isn't going to receive any mercy, the nation that is going to be completely wiped out of the earth. We know that his time ruling upon the planet Earth is coming to an end, because ultimately he only has a short time to rule, and we know that that short time is coming to an end very soon. By all the signs, all the prophecies, all the tokens that are being shown by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And therefore, knowing this, we know that we can't be invested in this current world, because this current world is going to pass away, and all the things that are in, all the lust, all the abominations that are being done here in America, Babylon the Great, and throughout the four corners of the earth. We know that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is going to put an end to all this wickedness that goes out throughout the earth. But us that are in the know that this place is going to be destroyed by the way of fire, especially here in America, Babylon the Great, this place is going to be utterly destroyed, never to be inhabited ever again. We know what mindset we should be in, not being invested in this place, because we know that there's going to be destroyed. We know that we could truly only be invested in this truth. That's the only thing that we're truly invested on. We're invested in the kingdom to come. Because here, it really isn't living, especially here in America, the mother of all harlots, where all the abominations are being pushed out. We know that we're truly in a wicked and corrupted society, because everything's out of order, from the heathen nations, especially Esau, Edom ruling over us. You got the women ruling over us. You got children ruling over us. You got polluted ass water, GMO foods. The skies are constantly being sprayed with chemtrails. It really isn't living. That's that's another reason that we're not invested in this world, because this world is going to be destroyed. And that word world, that's going into the word in the Greek aeon, which is the age. Not the current, not the whole world's going to blow up into a million pieces. No, because we know that the earth abides forever. And each age, each rulership really just gets transferred from one nation to the other. You had the four beasts, and three of them fell, and now that fourth beast, which was the Romans, from the Greeks to the Romans. And now we're in that current revived Roman Empire. We're in the revived Roman Empire, which is coming to an end very soon, because, that deadly wound was healed. But eventually, that beast was going to get taken down by Yahweh Shai. We know that his time to rule upon the planet Earth is short. This devil Esau, Edom. But these 2/3 of the nation of Israel, which comprised be so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, they're not considering that this current age, this current world is coming to an end very soon. That's why they're invested in the place. They have all their eggs in this basket, which is America. They're going to college, working these jobs, putting their money in the stock market, catering to their women, building up their 401k, their pensions, whatever it may be. Because in their minds, they think that this world that we call America, being ran by the devil Esau, Edom, is going to continue on forever. But no, this place is coming to an end very soon. So I'm going to get this first scripture. This is Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 14. For here we have no continuous city, but we seek one to come. And that's right, this current city, America, Babylon the Great, and throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever brothers that are sincere, sisters that are sincere, that have truly repented to Yahweh Shemiah Shai. We know that wherever we may be, that's not the end all be all. But 2/3 of the nation of Israel here in America, they think that this city is so great, ultimately because they've been lied to by Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. They were lied to about the American dream. They were lied to that, going to college, you were going to be successful, working these jobs, these 9-to-5s. But now everybody's waking up to the fact that it was all a fad, that it was all an illusion. Now you got Donald Trump, collecting all the student debts. You got these colleges, you may go to school for 4 years and you come out with your degree, but you just come out with a bunch of student debt and no job security. Because ultimately this society, this current economic system is collapsing to make a way where that new system is going to be ran by the digital currency. The MOTB, the micro CIB, spoken about in Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. And knowing that, we know that we're going to have to walk away from America completely. Because right now, we're in here. We got to work these jobs to get our daily bread, to pay our rent, have a roof under our heads, over our heads, whatever it may be. But we know that all this current daily routine that we do, we're gonna have to walk away from it very soon. Because we know when the devil Esau Edom makes that micro CIB, that charagma, the MOTB mandatory, we know that we can't take it. Because we know the repercussions of taking that charagma, the micro CIB, is going to be that second death, that lake of fire, which majority of the 2/3 of the nation of Israel and these heathens, they're going to take it, to continue to live here in Babylon, continue to go to their 9-to-5s, get the universal basic income, to go to the clubs, to the bars, pretty much try to live out that same lifestyle that they were living in Babylon, to try to continue to live that way. But we know that just like in the days of Noah, they're going to be eating, marrying, and drinking, thinking that everything's okay, with a micro CIB in their hand or in their forehead. And that's when Yahweh Shai is going to come and deliver the elect and destroy Babylon the Great by the way of fire, by the way of the intercontinental ballistic missiles, because they were too invested in this place instead of being invested in Yahweh Shemiah Shai, the kingdom of heaven to come. Is going to be here, established upon the planet Earth, where righteousness is finally going to be pushed out, where the law, statutes, and commandments are going to be written in the inward parts of the nation of Israel, never to sin ever again, never to go off, pretty much, or not pretty much, but it's going to lead to immortality, because if you don't sin, then you don't die. And that's what we're looking forward to. We're looking to get delivered out of these chains of darkness, these corrupted bodies, defiled bodies, because we know that ultimately we're worthy of being put to death. That's why we need mercy from Yahweh Shemiah Shai. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 14. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. And that's right, everything, especially here in America, it's all vanity, it's all vain, it's all vexation of spirit. From going to these 9-to-5s, working these jobs, having to deal with these worldly ass people, these 2/3 on a daily basis, having to look at their face. They knowing damn well they don't like you because they see the spirit of Yahweh Shai in you. That gives them another reason to hate you even more. Because we don't really connect with this world, because this world has always been off. And before we came into this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we knew that something was wrong with the world. We knew that the way it was ran, it was off. Now that we've been given the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding by Yahweh Shai, and has woken up our eyes and mind and ears to why the world is really fucked up, because ultimately it's being ran by the devil, Esau, the self-proclaimed white man. But majority of these people don't know that. They don't know that the earth was given, to the hands of the wicked by Yahweh Shai. But his time to rule upon the planet Earth is short, and it's coming to an end very soon. Because everything that this devil does is wicked. From the way he runs this system, by polluting the air, polluting the water, pushing out GMO foods, Frankenstein foods, all manners of wickedness that clearly shows that this devil, Esau, Edom, doesn't know how to rule the earth. Because just how this devil is ruling the earth, the people are moving in that same vibration, that do as thou will spirit. And it's all vanity, all this social media, bread and circus, the distractions of the world that don't really matter. It's all going to pass away. This is Matthew chapter 6 and verse 19. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. And that's what the elect are doing. Us, to the hopeful elect, we're not storing up treasures here upon earth. We're not storing up gold and silver, building up our 401k, building up our pensions, going to college for 20 years to just to get a career and hope to climb up the corporate ladder. We know that all this current system is going to be done away with very soon. It's going to be that great reset, which is going to lead to the MOTB. That's why we're not storing up treasures on earth, because we know that Esau, Edom's going to take it all away in a snap of a finger. And these people are going to completely lose their minds because they've been going to college for their whole life, working these jobs, climbing the corporate ladder just for Esau, Edom to crash the system in 1 second. That's all it's going to take for this devil to take everything away that these Babylonians, these Americans have. Verse 20, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. That's what the elect are doing. Us, to the hopeful elect, we're building up that spiritual bank account. Coming back to our power, repenting, turning back to Yahweh Shema Shai, doing the things that pertains to the spirit, not doing things that pertain to the flesh. Being invested in Babylon the Great, America, knowing that this place is going to collapse. We have a different mindset than the rest of these 2/3 of the nation of Israel and these heathens. They're in a completely different vibration of the world. Verse 21, for where your treasure is, there where your heart be also. That's right. Our mindset is in the kingdom of heaven. We're finally getting a good rest. We're going to be freed from captivity. We're going to have the heathens subject to us, being put in slavery, being put in chains. Ultimately, because that's what we're looking forward to. We're looking forward to ruling it upon the planet Earth. Lord willing, we're a part of that number. Being joint heirs with Yahweh Shai. But the rest of these 2/3 of the nation of Israel, they're not looking forward to ruling, because they don't have that rulership mentality. They have that Stockholm syndrome. They want to be under Esau, Edom, the serpent-coined white man. Ultimately, because this current world that we're in, it was made for a lot of people. That's why a majority of the nation of Israel is not going to make it. That's why these heathens are going to be destroyed. There's going to be a lot of people get put to death. Ultimately, because this current world was for a majority of these people out here, but it's not for the elect. That's why we can't connect with the world. We can't connect with these wicked ass individuals out here. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 8 and verse 1. And he answered me, saying, the Most High had made this world for many. And this current world, this current age that's being ran by the devil, Esau, Edom, it was made for a lot of people. That's why people out here are doing their own so-called own thing, giving over to vile affections, being modes, being feminists, selling out to Esau, Edom for crumbs, especially our people, all these celebrities, these rappers, these ball players. This world was made for 2/3 of the nation of Israel and these heathens. But this world wasn't made for the elect. That's why we know that we can't really be invested in this place. But the world to come for few. And what's that? That next world to come, that next age being ran by the nation of Israel, is the kingdom of heaven. That's what we're looking forward to. We're not looking forward to for America to continue on forever, for it to be a Super Bowl 240 or 250, World Cup 2050. We're not looking forward to this shit. We're looking forward to the kingdom of heaven being established upon the planet Earth. Having the law, statute, commandments written in our inward parts. Never to go off again, because we hate going off, because we're in these chains of darkness. But these 2/3 don't get that. They don't get, that being in this flesh is hell. Being subjects to your enemy, Esau, Edom, is hell. Because ultimately, yeah, we're in this world, but we're not abusing it. We're not looking to build ourselves up and build up generational wealth, because we know that that's all going to be done away with very soon by the way that things are looking. This economy is only getting worse by the day. The stock market is dropping, and it's soon to crash. You got Donald Trump imposing these tariffs on all these different nations, which is going to lead to all these imports, all these different shipments being sent by all these different countries to America. It's coming to a halt. It's coming to a stop. That's going to lead to grocery stores being empty, retail stores being empty, all these shelves on these grocery stores being empty. And that's going to lead to food scarcity, to famine. And people are going to bug out. And then they're going to realize that being invested in this place was a mistake. Because ultimately us of the hopeful elect, we just pray that we get our daily bread and be content. Because these people out here, these Americans, they're greedy. They could truly never have enough. They're constantly always looking for that next high. Keeping up with the Joneses, looking to get that new car, looking to get that new house. The newest iPhone, the newest gadgets. That's the mindset of America. That greedy, want. Consumer, that wild consumerism. Because they're in that same vibration as Esau, Edom, the silver-plain white man. That's Esau, Edom does the same thing. He goes around throughout the earth, robs, murders, rapes, takes resources from the other nations. And that's the same mindset that these Americans are in. They're in that mindset of constantly wanting more, never being content with what they have. That's why you have buffets. These people out here eat 4, 5, 6 times a day, constantly snack on, never fasting. That's the mindset of these Americans. Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 8. Says, remove far from me vanity and lies. And all these lies and vain things that we were being told by the self-proclaimed white man, that America is a great country, that American dream, so-called dream, is achievable, that if you go to college and get your degree, you're going to be successful. It was all lies and vanity. That's why when we came into this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we knew that everything that this devil, Esau, Edom, taught us in the school system was bullshit. Give me neither poverty nor riches, feed me with food convenient for me. So us that are in the truth, we know that if we ultimately we're given all those riches, whatever career you might have wanted, or be a rapper, an actor, a celebrity, and that would have corrupted us. Being given millions of dollars, because all those celebrities, rappers, they're not thinking about Yahweh Shemel Shai, because they got the constellation, they got the bag. It says neither poverty, because even if you're given too little, you got these homeless out here. They're not worried about the Lord either. They're not worried about Yahweh Shemel Shai. Because ultimately they don't have nothing. So instead they're cursing the Lord. It says, feed me with food convenient for me. So our daily bread, having a roof over our heads, that's more than sufficient, to be able to do this work and to keep pushing on to the end. Because all these riches that these people have, it's not going to be able to deliver them when all hell breaks loose, because they were too invested in this current society. Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 4, riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. And that's what's going to deliver us from all these upcoming calamities, Jacob's trouble, martial law, the hour of temptation, the micro-sehib, and eventually, the destruction of America. That's what's gonna deliver us. If we were doing what Yahweh Shemel Shai commanded of us, and ultimately is if we're gonna receive that mercy. But all these riches, this gold, silver, that all these Babylonians, these Americans, these 2/3 have been gathering up, ever since they were born, or ever since they've been able to work, it's not going to be able to deliver them, but in their minds, they're going to think they could pay, you know, Yahweh Shemiah Shai with gold and silver to deliver them. But no, this is all going to depend on if you're part of the elect or not. You know, but that's pretty much the point. Pray that this is edifying to the elect. You know, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Green Millstone who all learned this truth from the well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Until I say Shalom.